We have two books for launching this year. And just a little introduction to Professor A.M. Shah was formerly Professor of Sociology at the University of Delhi. He was felicitated with the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Sociological Society in the year 2009. And he has been the recipient of Swami Paramananda Award from the UGC. He has authored and edited many books, including The Household Dimensions of the Family in India, Division and Hierarchy, co-authored The Family in India, Critical Essays, and Exploring India's Rural Past. Recently, 3 of his books have been brought out as an omnibus under the title The Writings of A.M. Shah, The Household and Family in India. Professor T.N. Madan has the following to say on this book. A.M. Shah has been one of the leaders in sociological research on India for most of the last 50 years. It is of immense value to have available once again his path-breaking study of the household dimension of the Hindu family. His writing is marked by commendable precision and is pregnant with fresh insights. Professor Shah has a number of books. He has about 100 articles. He has covered kinship, caste, village, education, urbanization, and tribe. He is one of the trustees, founding trustees of this center. Now I invite him to introduce the book.
I am introducing to you this book, Essays on Suicide and Self-Immolation, edited by Lancy and myself, you see. First of all, I would like to mention that in 1886, a number of scholars in Bombay, both Indian and non-Indian, who were interested in anthropology, formed the Anthropological Society of Bombay. This society published a journal for more than 50 years. Unfortunately, this journal remained ignored by subsequent generations of anthropologists. The Center for Culture and Development has therefore undertaken a project to publish a series of collections of papers taken from this journal on selected themes. The present book, Suicide and Self-Immolation, is the first of this series. The second one will be on anthropological explorations in East and Southeast Asia. The third will be ethnography of the Parsees, and the others will follow. This book is a collection of 26 papers divided into 2 parts. Part 1 includes 18 essays on statistics of suicides in Bombay city, published every year from 1886 to 1907, and 1 essay on suicides among the Parsees in Bombay. Suicides are classified according to a number of variables and presented in as many as 170 tables. Part 2 includes 7 essays on various aspects of suicide and self-immolation. There is 1 essay on suicide and old age, another on suicide in ancient Hindu scriptures, and third on antiquity of Sati. This is followed by 4 descriptive accounts of self-immolation. The most notable are two. One on Sati, committed by the widow of Madhavrao Peshwa in Pune in 1971. It's a long essay. In fact, there is also a folk poem there. And the other on Sati, committed by the widow of a Nagar Brahmin in Surat in 1741. It's also a very interesting essay, you see. How a woman, you see, plans her own death, you see. There is a brief account of self-immolation committed by a man in a temple in Chotanagpur in 1826, and one on self-immolation by a group of men and women in Vasad village near Vadodara in 1905. These essays are written by distinguished scholars. Two essays are written by Dr. Sir Jivanji Jamshedji Modi, a prolific scholar who was awarded honorary doctorate by Heidelberg and many other academic honors. 5 essays are written by Edward Rehatsek, a professor at Wilson College in Bombay, who was a Hungarian but had made Bombay his home, and he died a Hindu, you see. 2 essays, he is a fascinating man, I don't have time to describe. I have read his biography, you see. 2 essays were written by distinguished British civil servants. Lancy Lobo and I have written an introduction to the book, and the eminent social psychologist Ashis Nandy has contributed a foreword which is interestingly entitled "The Fear and the Allure of Self-Destruction." You fear death, but you also welcome death. We have pointed out that the first 5 papers in this volume were published. First 5 papers in the journal were published 10 years before the French edition of Durkheim's classic book on suicide was published. 10 years before. Essays on suicide in Bombay, you see. And 50 years before, the translation of Durkheim's French edition into English edition was published. Yet, none of these papers is mentioned, even in passing, by any work on suicide, neither in India nor abroad. In fact, Western scholarship on suicide is not concerned with suicide in India at all. And Indian scholarship has been concerned mainly with Sati and its abolition. Our book raises a fundamental problem, namely that all thinking on suicide must recognize the fact that suicide is not merely a psychological but also a cultural problem, you see. I don't have time to, if you read the book you will know it, you see. Finally, while suicides are increasing and the nature becoming more complex, serious research on suicide is woefully neglected. You have only a few sentences here and there in newspapers, you see, but no scholarship, you see. While why this should happen is a problem, as Nandi, myself and Lassie, all 3 of us have raised, a problem of sociology of sociology. Thank you.